Hey, I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office, North Georgia's only live online morning show, and I'm joined by Steve and Aaron. Stephen, good to have you back today.
Glad to be back this morning.
You stayed right to the end of the speech last night?
I stayed right until the facade of a prayer that they offered after Obama's speech.
Every night. I'm glad you put it like that. Every night they come out, and I'm thinking, folks, this is a prayer?
Yeah.
Right?
And you know, the thing about it, they always read it off of teleprompter. No one ever has their head bowed. I mean, it's just, there is no semblance of any sort of religiosity or reverence towards whoever they're praying to at the time.
Well, a facade of a prayer. Now, Mr. Aaron, glad to have you again this morning, and you're welcome to come anytime. I enjoy this. Now, Lonnie is over here, and Lonnie is a millennial, and you are a millennial.
That's correct.
Okay, well, I have been talking a little bit about millennials. So I have a text message this morning, and this came in this morning while we were talking about millennials. So let me get to it, Lonnie. All of these, I'm gonna what?
If you want to get technical, I'm not actually a millennial.
No, you're not actually. All right, let's hang it there. We'll go with what you. We're not gonna go with what you.
What
want.
year were you born in?
All right, stop already. We have to redact Social Security numbers, years, real names. Okay, we don't use real names, nothing. Okay, code names. Okay. This text message came in, folks. All of these millennials are whining and crying about college tuition. This came in this morning. Who in the hell do they think has been controlling the colleges, universities, and the Department of Education? Democrats have owned this for generations. Now, I agree to a point. Now, both of you guys, and I'm happy to say this morning, I am joined in the room by two great guys here. You guys are good guys. Millennials, you represent well, all the above. But the Democrats have owned every bit of this, and nobody will own up to that. They have owned this.
And you know, the Democrats have owned this, and they do own up to that. But to me, it is interesting about the hypocrisy when people start to criticize millennials for being whiny and being selfish in the midst of all these goings on with the government, when of the people that are criticizing millennials about education, which is one of their big points, they're the same people that have essentially led us into the economic downturn that we've experienced through entitlement programs and through expenditures on various pieces of pork over the last 20 years. So to me, if people are criticizing millennials on education and their want to educate themselves, to me, it's a little bit hypocritical because of the type of world we've been left with from those that have come before us, and from those that have instituted the policy that caused the dot-com bust, the housing bubble, and even now they're working on giving us this wonderful student loan bubble that's going to pop sometime pretty soon. So, you know, as far as the whining goes, every generation whines a pretty good bit, but to place, you know, just to generally stereotype all millennials as whiners, to me it kind of puts a little bit of a fire in me, because I honestly see more millennials working hard to start businesses to put themselves out there in the job market than I have people of the two previous generations.
I won't disagree with that. Let's switch gears just a little bit. Last night you watched every bit of it. You were posting. I was hitting like. I was posting. You were hitting like. So we were talking all night long. Let's look at their side for a minute. Okay. Mm-hmm. Do you think they did a good emotional side? Now, Linda was sending me messages last night, and she does hit a home run to me with connecting emotionally. Forget the facts, forget the truth, emotional connection. How well did the Democrats do last night
Well, the Democrats have always done a better job of appealing to people emotionally and creating these magnificent fantasies that everyone could follow if they forget, all of the facts of the situations that are going on, if they forget the history of the country and want to just charge forward into the great unknown with this idealistic idea. I mean, they've done a really good job of marketing themselves as that. And honestly, both the vice presidential candidate and President Obama did a really good job of appealing to people's emotions and sort of creating that, or compounding on that fantasy that's been talked about throughout the entire week.
My favorite speaker last night, and I was cautious when I say this because obviously I think people know that I'm not a Democrat by no means, or close to it. My favorite speaker last night is Joe Biden. That's my favorite speaker. Joe is just accidentally stumbled through 8 years, didn't have to do anything.
He's crazy Uncle Joe. I mean,
Right,
everyone likes him.
Stand Up Chuck. Remember that video, Stand Up Chuck?
Shoot someone with a shotgun through the front door.
Yeah, exactly. We have a shotgun. But Joe was my favorite. Joe, as a lot of people don't know the tragedy, Joe was sworn in as a senator in the hospital room with one of his children, as his first wife was killed in a car accident, and one of the children, or two.
It was one of the children. Another one of his children passed away last year.
Yeah, and then Bo. So I guess at the end of the day, Joe's not a bad guy, and I guess that's what they want you to view. Hey, he's not a bad guy. You know what I mean? You don't agree because he's wacky and he thinks, this is out here and this is out here. But yeah, let's put him at the beer table.
People feel sorry for him.
I think they did a good job last night in. Have you noticed that in divided, not racially divided, but we are patriotically divided, that we have a different view? When I say we, because I know you well enough, we have a different view of being a patriotic American than they have of being a patriotic American. Do you see that?
Yes, I see that. I have I made a lot of friends in college that are extremely liberal, and with me being somewhat of an extreme conservative, that kind of clashed. And, we would debate some of the issues going around. But one of the biggest things that the Democrats seem to, and liberals in general, seem to have in common is that they see America as this oppressive, imperialistic nation that needs to scale down their military force so we can allow other countries to grow and allow them to become the new powerhouse of the world, and us just sort of fade back, kind of like Great Britain did after they released all of their colonies.
Well, you pan out in the crowd at the Republican convention, and people are wearing, I love the crazy hats and necklaces. It's the fun of it, okay? But people are wearing the red, white, and blue hat, the red, white, and blue cowboy hat, the red, white, and blue beads, the waving their flags, and the Democrats, none of that. None of that.
The only crazy hats that
but not even having the flags in the backdrop or nothing.
The only crazy hats that I see at the Democratic National Convention are Robin Hood hats. And I was reading an article on that last night, and it's for people who are in favor of the Robin Hood tax, which is basically an idea that if we tax the heck out of those making the top 10% of earners in this country, somehow it's going to make life better for everyone in the country. And this is coming from someone that, I grew up on a farm, I still work on a farm, and the general concept of taking from those who have had the opportunity, whose hand in life has been dealt in such a way where they have been able to play their cards right and become successful and earn that high salary that everyone wants to earn, and wanting to punish them for it, to me it's just asinine. because if we start taking from those that can stimulate the economy, those that can hire jobs or hire people and create jobs and make new businesses, the economy is going to slow down even more than it already is. And regardless of what President Obama said in his speech last night, the economy is still sluggish. The economic confidence index is down 14 points. And now that's not the lowest it's been in the last 8 years, but the fact that it's not up in any significant number shows that people are still concerned about the state of the economy. Whether you make a six-figure salary a year or you make a $20,000 salary a year, people are holding on to their money. And as long as there is that uncertainty in the economy, the worry that the Democrats are going to continue to tax us and overregulate us, the economy is still going to be sluggish and it's not going to recover anymore.
Well, you know, they have messed with all the indexes, and I don't want to get down this rabbit trail right now, but they've messed with all the indexes, and they've led us to believe that if you tell the same lie over and over, it'll soon be absorbed, that there, you know, inflation, that we're at zero inflation. And I would just like to invite these people to go over. I make a joke out of it. You can get all the mathematicians and economists together, and they can get all the numbers and have computers everywhere. But I'm going to tell you something. It used to take 6 bags to carry $100 worth of groceries. Now it's down to 3.5. That's simple, and I've done the economics inflation rate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, tell the truth, right?
Well, I mean, and you know, they keep harping on this increasing the minimum wage.
Oh.
Now, the economic portion of stuff is really something that I get involved with, because if we're doing well economically, we have time to debate on all these other issues. But if the economy is not doing well, to me, it's something we need to focus on above and beyond anything else. But this whole raising the minimum wage thing, if you look back in history, and you know, you can do it in a comparison as a line chart, but every time that they have raised the minimum wage, immediately following the raise of the minimum wage, inflation has skyrocketed. And then on top of that, the buying power of the dollar goes down, and you know, it just it increases the cost of living for everyone.
Minimum wage speaks to a couple groups. And I want you to go home and do some research on this, because I know you will. Minimum wage speaks to a couple groups. Number one, it speaks to the group that is getting $8 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and just the thought that, you know, somebody might give them 15, they get all excited. So you have that group. Here's the other group it speaks to. Go do your research. I'm pretty sure all contracts with unions are written that they have to be a percent higher, not 1%, but I'm just saying they have to be a percent higher than the minimum wage. Meaning, if their contract is for SEIU janitors to be at $18 an hour in the hospital, okay? Their contract somewhere in there says, if minimum wage goes up 12%, they automatically go up 12% to have that gap. You with me?
I'm with you.
Go look at that. Go see if the minimum wage, $15 an hour, is not working for another group that's not highlighted in this country.
Oh, I can honestly believe that, but to me, the concept of raising the minimum wage up to even $8 and the amount of damage that it would do to our economy honestly terrifies me, because we still have one of the strongest currencies in the world, even without it being backed up by some sort of precious metal. And I don't want to see us having, you know, I've done some traveling, I've done some mission trips. I don't want to have to be like it was in Peru, where I paid 1,000 pesos for a McDonald's hamburger.
Well, the minimum wage, so on and so forth. Let's go to this. Have you noticed, now you said Tuesday night you weren't able to because of the election, but I've watched all 3 nights in the entirety. One, the Democrats can't get a good chant off. I mean, they can't interrupt the speaker with USA. They can't even get a good chant off.
Well, I
okay?
mean, how ridiculous does Hillary sound?
And look,
Well, that too. But
I don't even want to go there. I want to stay focused on something. Have you noticed that in 3 nights, no effort to thank law enforcement, 0 effort to thank law enforcement,
absolutely none.
and that ISIS and terrorism has not been in the same sentence.
President Obama mentioned ISIL once last night.
Not terrorist in the same sentence.
I don't know what sort of cognitive dissonance is going on within the Republican Party and within Democrats. I understand not wanting to collectively group people together in the same way with the word terrorist, but when you look at things, I mean, just from a bird's eye view, when you've got a regime that is operating within other sovereign countries claiming their territory as their own, they're destroying historical locations, trying to purge the area of anything that goes against their religion. You've also got, them strapping bombs to kids' chests and sending them into markets and doing things that are just these despicable and heinous acts. I do not see how you cannot classify them as terrorists. The whole purpose of the very definition of terrorism is doing actions that cause people to fear that group or fear life in general.
We're going to hold right there. We're going to take a break. It's 9:31 this Thursday morning. When we get back, we're going to ask some very quick questions and get some fast answers on several things. What do you think the Democrats are going to do after the election? Did the Russians hack or did WikiLeaks? Assange says different. I'm going to go with Assange, and I'm going to say the Democrats had to find a villain, and we're going to talk about that, what the Democrats are going to do. How can you get involved to help, and what do we have to do out there if you don't want to see Hillary in the White House? Don't forget Colonel Oscar Poole's Inspirational Moments this morning, and at 10 o'clock, the Scott Farrell Show. I'm your host, BKP. Stephen and I will be back after these messages. Lonnie, take us to break.
While the best athletes gather to compete, the rest of us gather to eat. Pizza Hut's Big Flavor Dipper is here. Almost 2 feet of pizza with 4 flavorful dipping sauces. Big enough to feed the whole team for a small price, just $12.99. The Big Flavor Dipper Pizza, only at Pizza Hut.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East LJ. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
The 50-50 sale is back at Schottenkirk Ford. 50 trucks must go in the next 50 hours. Shop over 250 trucks in stock and starting as low as $79.95. And there's several more on the lot just like it. Yes, 50 trucks must go. And not just Fords. We have all the best makes and models. You have 50 hours to cash in on huge savings. Don't miss our 50-50 sales event at Schottenkirk Ford in Jasper. Online at SchottenkirkFordJasper.com.
El Rey and Elijah.
El Rey Mexican Restaurant.
Family owned and operated, and a local favorite for families, parties, and meetings.
Great prices.
Friendly service and delicious Mexican cuisine.
Patio dining available.
Come sing in Carlos's Cantina every Friday 9 to 1.
Eat in or take away.
Same location for 14 years. Open 7 days at the corner of Maddox Drive and 515. North Georgia's favorite Mexican cuisine. El Rey and Elijah.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
Introducing Pizza Hut's first $5 flavor menu. Just $5 each when you order 2 or more. Say yes to a medium one-topping pizza, yes to Wing Street Wings, yes to new stuffed garlic knots, and much more. It's easy to say yes to our first ever $5 flavor menu, only at Pizza Hut.
I'm Sheriff Dane Kirby, and I'll stand up for you.
I'm Stacy Nicholson, Sheriff of Gilmer County, and I will stand up for you.
Stand up and speak out. No matter how rich, cool, talented you believe yourself to be, how you treat people ultimately tells all. I am Allison Sosby, District Attorney, and I'll stand up for you.
The summer sell down is on at Days Chevrolet in Jasper. And if you like to save, the time is now. Get a brand new Chevy Malibu for just $19,700. Loaded Silverado Crew Cab LT, just $33,500. Or a new 2017 Equinox from just $23,700. Days has bonus savings on every new Chevy. But time is running out. Don't miss the summer sell down at Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Better days ahead, Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
The office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. I'm your host, BKP. I'm here with Stephen Aaron. Glad to have you back.
Glad to be back.
We're going to roll through some real quick things, Stephen, because it is we have the Scott Farrell show coming up at 10 o'clock. You want to stay tuned for that, and then also Oscar Poole's inspirational moments here in a couple minutes. Did it look like Obama is Hillary's running mate more than it looked like Tim Kaine?
To me, it did, because honestly, no one knows who Tim Kaine is. I mean, if you go outside of Virginia, who is he? We've never heard of him down here. He hasn't been any sort of star on the left, so he's going to spend more time introducing himself to the American people than he is helping Hillary get elected.
Was it a little strange and unconventional that when he got done speaking, just his wife came out and Hillary didn't come out and shake his hand?
It was a little bit
Because
unconventional.
she was in the house. See, I didn't know if she was in the house.
I mean, she came out and gave President Obama a hug and waved to the crowd after he spoke.
I actually understood that, but I think it'd been nice if after 2 minutes of them, next thing you know, Joe comes out and Tim Kaine, and you see, hey, we had this, I think that would have been an optical moment that they could have capitalized on. But no out handshaking of Tim Kaine.
To me, it seems like Hillary didn't get to pick the vice presidential candidate that she wanted. That there's some distance between her and Kaine, and it's almost like the DNC forced her to pick Kaine as her vice presidential candidate.
Okay, my prediction is, and it's not just a prediction, it's out there, Democrats are nervous, very nervous, okay? They know how vulnerable they are.
Well, the Democrats don't trust Hillary any more than someone like I do.
Right, so that
the overwhelming majority,
right, that being said, they're nervous. The Democrats truly know Pennsylvania's in play.
Mm-hmm.
They truly know that this is not fraudulent polling. I remember McCain and Palin thinking it was in play, and it wasn't, okay? So anyhow, they think it's in play. Remember the little rift real quick that Palin and McCain had, because McCain gave up on Michigan and Palin went up there anyway. Michigan's in play. So with these states in play, okay, they're in trouble.
They know they're in trouble.
They're in trouble. So what do you think the campaign looks like from here on out?
I mean, from here on out, they're going to...
Let me throw this in, and now you got 2 minutes.
Go ahead.
My prediction is tomorrow the media starts working to get Gary Johnson on the stage. They cannot let Hillary go a mano
with
Donald Trump. Can't do it. They start working tomorrow to get him in all the polls, get him up to 15%, and say, we've seen 2 conventions. American people don't want either one, and we got this other guy. And I think it's all going to be pushed by the Democrats to get him on the stage. What say you? What does this campaign look like going into tomorrow?
Well, honestly, I think that that's a fairly good analysis. Though with the Democrats, it wouldn't surprise me if they started pushing Jill Stein as well, not just Gary Johnson.
Green Party?
Green Party.
Right.
Because the more candidates there are in the race, the more votes that any third party gets, the better things are for Hillary. Because, you know, as much as people have a very positive outlook on Trump, there's still a lot of division within the Republican Party.
I'll agree with that.
And, you know, there's just as much division within the Democratic Party. There's a lot of people that don't like either Trump or Hillary. And some of them are going to Gary Johnson, and there's a lot of them that are saying they're just going to stay home. But to me, I think that if Trump can find a way to further unify the Republican Party, he did a good job offering an olive branch by choosing Mike Pence.
Right.
But he's still got a lot of work to do to unify conservatives between now and November. And I don't think that the Democrats are going to be able to unify even with the platform that they put out, because there are so many people that are irritated with Hillary, because Democrats are moving further to the left. Hillary's just kind of mid-left, and that really irritates a lot of the people that are essentially socialists within the Democratic Party, and they feel like that if they're going to choose the lesser of two evils, they might as well choose Trump. This is the weirdest election that I have ever seen in my life, because you've got people on the right that are voting for a Democrat, you've got people on the far left that are voting for a Republican.
You know, I have to say, I'm going to stick with you on that one, because there is some strange, because I have to tell you, I think the left that are in the camp of they know the truth about Wall Street. Now, I know the left knowing the truth is, what is that called?
Oxymoron?
Yeah, I was thinking that, right?
Yeah.
Left knowing the truth? Well, I have to rethink I said that. But some of them know the truth about Wall Street, okay? Realistically, there's people operating at Wall Street, and some people get angry at the way I say that, that are actually more responsible for harming this economy and hurting people than Bernie Madoff. Okay,
I'm not sure I agree with that.
Huh? Do the research on what Bernie Madoff did, which is not okay.
Oh, I agree.
And then look at the ones that did not get handcuffs. Okay, so, but what I'm saying is there is a group that is very upset. Now, I'm not on the left, but I have to tell you, I do not. And Donald Trump, you need to listen to this, because I'll campaign against you if I find out this. I do not want somebody from Goldman Sachs signing our money again. Do not. Does that make me on the left? Does that make me what? I do not want Goldman Sachs to be the Secretary of the Treasury and sign the money again.
I'm going to tell you this. The way the recession should have been handled is how, I'm forgetting his name right now, whoever was president in 1929, I think it was Herbert Hoover.
Herbert Hoover.
It should have been handled how Herbert Hoover handled it, with the crash on Wall Street, in a purely capitalistic fashion. the companies that were going to fail should have been allowed to fail. Because, take General Motors for instance. If General Motors would have filed bankruptcy, they would have been forced to splinter off different lines of their product into smaller companies.
Right.
And it would have it would have increased competition, it would have driven down the cost of vehicles, which would have been, it would have made people easier to purchase them.
This is dark language you're using. You're acting dark like Republicans.
How is
You're
this
not
dark
offering
language?
Solution.
That is a solution. It is a very real solution.
We need to offer solutions, Steve, and that wasn't a solution.
Oh, that,
Spending trillions or billions of dollars to save them and give it to the unions was a solution. You know, I can't believe they continue to tell you that General Motors, how well they're doing. They shifted their balance sheets around. They have not paid us back.
You know, with
you know I'm being facetious.
I know you are, but with Obama's speech last night, other than him stroking his own ego about getting Osama bin Laden, which honestly all that intelligence came from the Bush administration.
And let's not forget, Hillary Clinton's a 9/11 hero.
Yeah.
Not Benghazi hero. There's families of 4 dead Americans that would have wished she had been a Benghazi hero, but she became a 9/11.
But, you know, him stroking his own ego about saving the economy, you know, every policy that the Democrats implemented from when they took over Congress in 2004 until 2010, when we had this large surge of Republicans and Tea Party Republicans coming into Congress, they did more to harm the economy in those 8 years than anything in our history. And I can go back and point to specific acts of Congress that were passed during that era, and most of them were signed by President Obama, that actually made the recession last longer than it was supposed to, because a recession is only 2 quarters of negative growth within the economy.
Are you optimistic on the election?
Prior to the RNC, I can say that I was not that optimistic. I was pretty worried that we were not going to be able to compete in this race and that Donald Trump would tail Hillary the whole time. But after seeing how America responded to the RNC, how Donald Trump has pushed ahead of Hillary in every poll across the country, it's even surprised people on the left that Donald Trump is now pushing ahead of Hillary.
And Scranton, Pennsylvania, they always bring out Hillary, Scranton, Pennsylvania, which she is not even close to Scranton, Pennsylvania, but they always bring that out like it's your hometown. He goes up there, massive crowds. He's still getting massive crowds.
I don't even think Hillary, this may be the first Democratic convention where their presidential candidate doesn't get a bump in the polls from the convention because of the issues with Debbie Wasserman Schultz and all the other things that, it's like you said yesterday, if Trump keeps playing the crooked Hillary line, no one's going to trust her, and it's going to be a lot easier for him to get the electoral votes that he needs to become president.
And they're going to have a tough time selling the Russians are doing this. The Russians, just say Russians. They're in a group meeting. What do we do? Let's say Russians.
Well,
now I'm not saying the Russians are the good guys, but you and I spoke during the break. You can mask IP addresses. The internet's a dark place, and that's not the Republican Party, that's the internet. It's a dark place. You can mask IP addresses, and you can be hacking and looking like you're in the Middle East just a mile down the road.
Yes.
If you know what you're doing.
If you know what you're doing.
So this stuff of China and Russia could be, couldn't be true. But Assange comes right out there and says it, WikiLeaks. He says it right out.
And like Julian Assange, think he is a threat to national security, whatever, he has exposed some wrongdoing by our own government.
Oh, hell you say.
And,
what does he say? Hillary Clinton allowed the Islamic State to flourish.
He did, yes. And
ISIS is Hillary's
fault.
Baby, period. Fault. Just go for it, right?
And then Obama sent him munitions and supplies with what's going on over in Syria, and it's just the whole thing that we're trying to contain has been caused by this administration, by these failed leadership policies of trying to build these Middle Eastern nations with radical Islamic people.
Well, here's the thing, and we got 3 minutes left here before we have to close out today. You don't think the Democrats will get a bump?
To me, it sort of, they're going to get some sort of bump. I don't know. I honestly could see, if they don't get a bump, I could see them coming out statistically tied with Trump, but I would not be too shocked.
Margin of error, the best they can maybe hope for is even.
Yeah, the best they can hope for is even.
With margin of error.
But it wouldn't surprise me if they actually drop in the polls. Because
I don't think it's been a good convention, but
with all the feel-good messaging,
it's been Victims Week.
Yeah.
It's been Victims Week.
And they criticize the Donald Trump and the Republican Party for having a dark outlook on the country.
They had a theme night every night. Make America work again. Make America safe. I liked everything about it. I'll tell you what I like is the celebrities didn't show up for the Republicans. I was so tired of them singing, "We are the world, kumbaya, all we need is love, love, love." I was like, oh my God, get these people off the stage. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The Democrats have done one great thing for me this week. They have given me a whole list of celebrities that I will not watch do anything again.
If I can get in the final word.
You got it.
If you are a Republican out there and you're not sure about Donald Trump, there's a few things that I want you to take into consideration. And first and foremost, it's the Supreme Court. We know exactly what kind of people that Hillary would appoint to the Supreme Court, what kind they're going to completely gut and destroy our Second Amendment rights. If no other reason, vote for Donald Trump because of the Supreme Court and vote that way to keep our rights.
Thank you. I appreciate that because it was Take Our Guns night last night. It definitely was. And we are out of here. It's time for the Scott Farrell Show. But right after Scott Farrell comes on, behavior specialist, right after our good friend Oscar Poole will be at Sycamore Crossing tomorrow in Blue Ridge. Come up and join us. We got a big couch up there. We can get a dozen people and we'll talk about the conventions. I'm your host, BKP. We'll see you tomorrow morning.